Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Ascension Mastery video series. My name is Ray. The whole point of this series is to allow us or to assist us to understand the basic fundamental principles of reality and by thus become more aware of our spiritual process. In this specific video, I'm going to focus on the subject of duality and polarities. You can't really understand existence and how to control life or experiences without understanding polarities and alternation of duality. A polarity is actually an experience that is stretched in two opposite directions, towards two extremes or two poles, if you will. This creates a spectrum that we can experience between those two poles. The human adventure is the exploration of the negative polarity of creation and of being. Duality actually creates the experience of life itself, and the negative polarities, which may be experienced in that duality, are not necessarily a bad thing, even if they are defined that way. They are good and necessary for our experiences. All this and more in my new video, so stay tuned. Now, as a person that has experienced several non-dual experiences, I'd like to share with you my understandings of the subject and simplify it with several good examples and a quick summary at the end that will put everything together. Duality means the opposite of something. Let's take a few examples that will not be able to exist without the existence of duality. If there was nothing hot, there would be nothing cold. Hot and cold would not exist. Each one of them defines the other, and therefore they are in opposite poles one to the other. For positive energy to exist, negative energy must exist. For positive love to exist, negative love, fear must exist. For happiness to exist, some suffering has to exist. For light, darkness. For creation, destruction. For good, some sort of evil must exist. As we know, the whole purpose of the illusion of the 3D world we live in is experience. In essence, creation is trying any experience that can be experienced for the positive or for the negative. Creating a dual experience allows creation itself to have a spectrum of experiences. To create the polarity itself within the dual world, within the 3D world, we stretch out the positive to another point that may be defined as the negative, and thus we create a variation in spectrum. For example, temperature. So between the absolute zero and the tens of millions of degrees, there is a whole spectrum of variation. Now the same thing can actually be said about light. If this is the ultimate light, then this will be the ultimate darkness, where there's absolutely no visible light to the most blinding of lights. Again, we have two poles and we have a range between them, a spectrum. The same thing we can say about negative emotions to positive emotions. Again, there's a whole spectrum of emotions between the two, having light consciousness, the one ultimate creator or consciousness at one side, and anything that is negative, like fear, abandonment, hate. And this is basically what we have here in the experience of life itself, only in a deeper and more profound way. Now, try to imagine what a non-dual existence might feel like to you. Or better yet, try to imagine what your experience will be like without duality. If there is one creator, and we are all that is, and only one of us exists, what can emotions can that person or one creator have if there is no contrast? Imagine if there's just light and no darkness. Imagine if there is always and always has been only beauty. We can't, because it's illogical. Our spiritual development is our journey of return from the polar side of darkness to the love-light side of creation. And we are going to come back renewed, and we're going to come back refreshed. And then we're going to probably come back to do the whole thing once again. Now, to make that journey, we need to understand the laws of polarity and transcend the mass hallucination of darkness into life and enlightenment. So being in non-duality is not being in any type of experience at all. There's no definition, there's no up or down, there's no hot, cold, no good feelings or bad feelings. Now, another good example is our feelings. Our emotions are a single kind of energy, which is love, stretched out between the positive and the negative pole. On the positive side, we have energies like satisfaction, enthusiasm, passion, and joy. On the negative side, we have anger, anxiety, fear, guilt, sorrow, hate, and depression. Most people who are not undergoing a spiritual awakening are here on earth to explore the negative side of emotions, and therefore they have very little bliss. But this is where it gets even more interesting, because another law of polarity is the necessity to alternate between the positive and the negative. By thus, we are renewing and refreshing the experience. This is best explained with an example. The experience itself is actually felt in the edge of the polarities and not in the place of balance and in harmony. In other words, we will feel here and here, but we won't feel anything in the middle. And let me explain. Say this is temperature. This is when we come out from the cold into a very nice and warm room. This is the summertime when we miss the wintertime. This is the wintertime when we miss the summertime. And if we're talking about emotions, try to understand that the human brain and memory already remember positive, strongly positive emotions and strongly negative experiences. Why? Because everything in the middle is balanced and it doesn't make sense, and there's not a lot of experience to be experienced there. We are only lonely when we are out of a relationship, but when we are in a relationship, sometimes we wish to be alone. We're only hungry in the negative experience when we miss food, and we feel completely satisfied, then we completely forget about it. Everything is experienced in the edges of the polarity itself. Now, what happens when a person moves out of their comfort zone? Say, this is my comfort zone, right here, and this is little me. Now, most of us are somewhere around here inside our comfort zone, not changing much, not listening to the different things our intuition tells us in spirit. When a person, if we're talking about the alternation of reality itself, when a person moves a little bit out of the comfort zone, like when we are working out and we're doing just a little bit more than what we actually need, but not too much. Too much will be here. Running a marathon, being out of shape, that's here. That will push us right back inside our comfort zone. We'll say, oh, why did we even try to do that? Something like that. But when we move just a little bit outside of comfort zone, this is where growth happens. Okay? This is the growth cycle. So we're talking about personal growth. We're talking about changing all the time. We're talking about the fact that we are an ever-changing species and we're embracing reality as it is. When we are snapping between in and out, like when I'm teaching people to do dry fasts and we're exploring Breatharianism and stuff like that, that's where we're growing. And this is exactly those edges that I'm talking about. This equals here. A person can live only on these edges all the time. And that will increase their experience. They will quadruple their experience. Why? Because they won't need the middle part. And we can actually get addicted to that. Like people get addicted to adrenaline and stuff like that. So the experience itself is actually felt in the edge of the polarity and not in the place of balance and harmony. Only at the edge itself we feel the pull back to the other side. Now in this way, when we feel pain, we appreciate no pain. When we feel sick, we appreciate being healthy. When we come out from the cold, from the outside, we appreciate the warmth, the warm room. When we feel heartbroken, we appreciate being in a relationship. When we feel sad, we appreciate happiness. This is why this whole thing, the alternation of dualities, was created. The list really goes on in both directions. So using this understanding of polarity shifting or alternating, we can actually conclude that this is the reason why we lose appreciation for something that we are not alternating. We lose appreciation for good food, for comfort, and for positivity. This also explains why so many people who are living their dream lives stop appreciating life. And also people that are very wealthy stop appreciating money and abundance and have a tendency to actually self-sabotage themselves. The human experience is in the contrast and exactly where our growth comes from. This is where the drama occurs, and this is also where the fun is. This is where we are outside of our comfort zone. So, I will tell you again that without polarity, there is no experience. Some of you might think that you want to live in paradise all the time, but I'm telling you that you don't. You came from a non-dual experience, and you stood in line for this life, this planet, this incarnation, this experience. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. You probably noticed that life here, unless you are some sort of super conscious guru, is not that easy. Some people would even define it as hard or hellish. This is because if creation itself is the light and the positive pole of the spectrum, we are on the other side, in the darkness. And right now, we are slowly stepping out of it. So, if creation, the universe, or God wanted to create experience in every possible way, this is light, this is darkness. We are so far away from the light that we actually forgot, on the experience or the entities experience something out there on the spectrum of experience, that we are God in God's way, creation in creation's way. We are the co-creator, the God particles ourselves. This is why most people are right now sleeping. Now, what can we learn from all of this? First, if you want to have a godly experience and work on your spirituality and awakening, you have to understand that to resist one side of the polarity, like pain or evil or darkness, is to resist all of life itself. The only suffering that exists is our own resistance to what is as it is, like resisting reality itself. The price we pay for resisting anything is suffering. You are the sole creator of all your resistances and therefore all your sufferings. But on the other side, your suffering in life is never what you think it is, but the resistance of what you think it is, and nothing external ever causes your pain and suffering. In other words, your pain and suffering is your own understanding of the experience itself. Nothing can also never produce your happiness except for your understanding of what happiness is as a contrast to what you don't want. In your choice to come to planet Earth or incarnate here, you actually chose to alternate your polarity, to have more experience, to go from the light to the darkness, to have experience. And this is why you are the master, by the way. You are alternating from essence of love to a place of darkness, drama, challenges, if you may. From a non-dual existence to a dual existence. And you made the right choice. Why? Because you came to overcome the challenges, most of them, and achieve love and light, well on your way to show others, to become a beacon of light for other people to also step into the love of spectrum as well. Because what you're going through now is this back transformation, this awakening, this ascension process that we are talking about. Ascension. Oh, I should have brought another color. So, what can we do with this information on a practical level? We can start seeing the experience of duality in everything around us and stop avoiding what we define as negative. Negative never existed. It's only the opposite of the positive, and they come hand in hand. One cannot exist without the other. One is a contrast of the other. Our existence here would not be possible unless both sides of duality played a part. Namaste, my friends. Thank you very much for staying all the way to the end. This is very important for the next videos that are about to come in the series. I will see you in my next video.